Hi guys, welcome to my office. I'm basically recording from here today because I have chained myself to the desk so that I can finish a whole bunch of videos for the School of SweetGeorgia. So that's why we're in here today. I also am in here today because I have almost no knitting content to show you today. This is literally what I've done. Well, it's not too bad. It's actually a lot, you know? So I don't even know. I should probably measure this. Is this 17 inches yet? Does that look kind of like 17 inches? This is basically the body of a sweater that I am knitting for myself. It is the worsted boxy sweater by Hohi Lokitelli. But that's all I have to show today. But what I wanted to come to you guys to talk to you guys about today is the fact that this past week I ran my last race of 2018. I am not a good runner. I am not a consistent runner. I run these races. I run some 10Ks and some half marathons every year, but I'm absolutely terrible because I don't train for them. But every time I do get the opportunity to go on these races and go on these runs, I end up doing a lot of thinking. And so I have some things that I want to share with you guys that might help if you are also in the fiber arts industry or doing any kind of creative work whatsoever. So that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. Hi guys, thank you guys so much for being here today. My name is Felicia and I'm from SweetGeorgia Yarns. And every Friday I come here to talk to you guys about SweetGeorgia things and School of SweetGeorgia things and basically what is going on in this crafting world that we're in. And one of the things that has come up for me in the past couple of weeks, it came out of conversations that I had at the retreat. It came out of sort of a long time that I spent thinking as I was running this past week. I ran a 10K it's called the Fall Classic. It's held out by UBC, the university where I attended. And all of this time spent in my head thinking about these things, I wanted to talk to you guys about this idea of creative burnout. So yeah, as I mentioned, I run these races, but I'm not really a good runner. I'm not consistent at all. I don't train for these things. But every time I do get this opportunity to go on a longer run, I think about why running is so good and why it's so important. Running for me is like a meditation on endurance. It's about going the distance, literally. It's about being able to make it through a long, arduous process. How do you make it all the way to the end? So how do you persevere? How do you make it through those times where you have to go uphill and things are really, really hard? And how do you make it through those times where you're going downhill and things seem to be going really, really fast and really, really easy, but you need to pace yourself so that you don't hurt yourself afterwards, or you don't stumble, you don't fall, or so that you can maintain that pace after things get a little bit harder. How do you make it through all of those challenges? So this is a constant reminder to me, and I think about it all the time because I think about what I'm trying to do at SweetGeorgia, and I think about what I'm trying to do with the School of SweetGeorgia. Like, this is not work that is going to take 6 months or a year. It's not going to be something that is just going to be realized in a very short amount of time. This is something that needs to be developed over a long, long period of time. And so I need to find a way to pace myself through all of that and make it all get to the end, to that goal, to that finish line that I'm looking for without hurting myself, basically. So I think about how I'm developing the content for the school, and it's not something that I can just present a humongous palette of courses right away. It has to be something where I'm coming out with course modules week by week by week or month by month, and over time it will become something. Yeah, it's literally going to be like one course a week or one course a month for the next 5 years or for the next 10 years. I mean, that's the kind of time frame that I'm looking at. How can I pace myself so that I can make all of the things that I want to make without hurting myself? I think about this a lot because, SweetGeorgia right now, we're going into our 14th year. We started in 2005, and it's taken this long to develop a team, to develop systems, to have best practices, to just have a system of doing things that actually works, to figure out what our inventory system is going to be, how we do our e-commerce, how we do our finance systems. All of these things take a long time to work out. So in those past 13 or 14 years since I started Sweet Georgia, I absolutely have been through times of creative burnout, like extreme creative burnout, to the point of having to stop and take a lengthy hiatus. I took about a year, almost a year and a half off so that I could reevaluate and figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. Because yeah, it was a very, very hard time. I think that when I initially started off Sweet Georgia, it was at a time, the planets were aligned, the universe was functioning in a certain way, and the business really became very popular very quickly, more quickly than I could handle. And I very quickly just ended up working 7 days a week and just was so tired, so tired. And it was my mom who gave me this analogy of being a rubber band that is being stretched and stretched and stretched to the point where it can't stretch any further. So when you think about what might happen with a rubber band being stretched to the point where you can't stretch it anymore, either it breaks, just snaps and breaks, or when you let go of it, it doesn't go back to its previous form. It doesn't go back to its previous shape. It just kind of stays wilted and limp like that. And so I think about that in terms of creative burnout. Like when you get to that point where you feel stretched so thin that it's difficult to function, you can't add any more things in. Everything is just, you're at the moment where you're prone to snapping, prone to breaking, prone to falling apart. And so anybody who does any creative work, you never want to get yourself to that point because it's really hard to be creative when you're in that state. So you want to do everything that you can to avoid it. So I think about creative burnout as I'm running, and I think about the two things together. And so I have 5 points that I want to share with you guys today. 5 things that I thought about while I was on my run. The first thing is to start slow and to pace yourself. If you're running and you start off your 10K or your marathon or your half marathon and you start really, really fast, what happens in your body is that you build up all this lactic acid. And if your body is not tuned to the point where it can handle that lactic acid and process it and get rid of it as you're running, then it just starts to build up. And then very quickly you'll crash. You'll just have to stop running and just start walking because your whole body will hurt and you'll be sore. So that can happen if you start too fast. It's the same with working in this fiber business, like when I started Sweet Georgia, we just started too fast. I just had too many orders coming in and things were going really well. And I just never said no to anything because I was like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. I should do this. I should. And so all of this stuff was piling up and building up to the point where then I couldn't handle it anymore. And I did have to let it all go. And I did have to stop. And so when I restarted Sweet Georgia back in 2009, it really, really was something that was very important to me, this idea of pacing yourself. Starting slow, starting with what you can manage, and then grow very organically based on what you can manage, what you are set up to be able to accomplish. So if you're a knitwear designer and you want to say go from 0 to 200 designs in 1 year, that might hurt you unless you happen to be Jen Lucas or someone. But if you're starting from scratch, just, do a little bit and then do a little bit more and do a little bit more and just go at your own pace. The second point is this idea of doing it with other people. So when I go on a run by myself on a weekend or weekday morning or something like that, if I'm running by myself, I find it really, really difficult to stay motivated. I very often end up walking after 2K and say, okay, I'm just going to run home and and have lunch or something like that. But it's very difficult to stay motivated when you're just doing everything all by yourself all the time. And so when I go to these races, even though I haven't properly trained for them, I go to these races and it is wonderful to run together with all these people around me. They're not even necessarily my friends. I don't know anybody at these races, a whole bunch of strangers, but everybody's going in the same direction and they might be going faster than me, they might be going slower than me, but just the fact that they're all there and we're all doing this together is extremely motivating and it gets me through all the way to the end. It's wonderful. And so I talk about this a lot. I talk about the idea of working in community with other people, doing your crafts in community with other people, because I think it's really, really important. It can be so motivating to be surrounded by people who also do what you do and love what you do, and that pushes you forward. The third point is kind of related to the second point, but it's this idea that encouragement is essential. And it can be as simple as, you're running and some stranger is holding a sign that's kind of funny that is providing some happy thoughts, or, they give you a high five on the way, something silly like that. It just seems like it's so superficial, but in fact, it's very energizing. And so you don't even realize that 2 words from a stranger about your work or to encourage your work might actually be the difference between going or not going. So I think about this in terms of when I look at other people who were going through this process of building a business in the fiber arts industry. If I have 2 words that I can say to them that might encourage them, I'm going to do that, because it takes almost no time from me, but it could make the difference in someone else's life, whether or not they go or don't go anymore. The fourth point is to rest when you need to rest. Rest when you need to rest. Sleep when you need to sleep. Exercise, take time away from the thing that you're obsessed with doing. You need time away from those things. You need a break. You need a rest. Sometimes you just need a break so that it can refresh your mind, calm your mind, settle you down, so that you can come back to your project or your business or whatever you're working on, just feeling more refreshed about it, feeling more clear-headed about the whole thing. It's very easy when you get all wrapped up in the thing that you want to do that you just can't think about anything else besides that thing. And it's wonderful and exciting and exhilarating to be obsessed with something, but it's also the path to burnout. It's also the path to needing to take a break and needing to have rest. So rather than pushing yourself to the edge and then crashing and then having a humongous rest that takes a year and a half to recover from, take smaller rests, take breaks when you need to take breaks, and then you can keep going for a longer period of time. And this last point, I think, is really, really important. And it's number 5. It is to dissociate yourself from your results. So, like I said before, I'm not a great runner. If I look at my time results and I judge myself by my time, and I somehow equate my time, my results, with my value as a person or with my identity, I think I would feel really terrible about myself all the time. So if I'm thinking, so-and-so gets 10K and is able to run that in X amount of time, and I'm able to run a 10K in this amount of time, then that makes me feel terrible and I'm not as good, or that's a terrible way. That's a terrible place to go. Don't go there. And it's the same that happens in this fiber industry. You're looking at people and their Instagram numbers. You're looking at their number of pattern sales. You're looking at all sorts of things and trying to compare yourself with other people, compare yourself with how they're doing, and then looking at your results and somehow equating your identity or your value with the results that you're getting. You need to stop doing that. I need to stop doing that. Dissociate yourself from the results that you're getting. And I think for me, I try to remember this all the time, is just focus on doing something a little bit better than you did it last time. Just beat yesterday. Just do better than you did last time. And with that, you're going to improve yourself. You're going to improve your own processes. You're going to improve your own work. You're going to improve your own skills. Just look at your own work, focus on your own work, and don't judge the results and somehow make them part of your value system or your identity. Just don't. So that is it for today. Today is a little bit of a weird episode, I know, but these are things that I've been thinking about, and I think about all sorts of things, always in parallel with things to do with crafting and making and this fiber environment that we're in. And I think about it always in relation to SweetGeorgia and what we're doing. And I just thought it would be nice to share some of these thoughts with you guys. So next week, we will have more knitting content for sure. We are actually going to be releasing our Holidays with SweetGeorgia collection on Tuesday, November the 13th. And so you can look for that on our website. But next Friday, I will go in and show you each one of the pieces that we are launching for holiday. They are all super cute. I was on the photo shoot for them with Josh and with Teresa, and it was wonderful. I'm really excited about these pieces and looking forward to sharing them with you. So thank you guys so much for being here this week to watch this kind of weird episode. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more content like this or more content related to knitting, dyeing, spinning, or weaving, things like that, please do hit subscribe, and we come to you every Friday with some new content on YouTube here. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.